SummerSlam at Barclays, and I wore a regular WWE shirt. We went the second year, and I was like, I need something to stand out, grab an eye or two, and I made a shirt with Shawn Michaels Hasbro figure, just
Nice.
simple illustration, threw it on a shirt, and got some attention. Friend of your show, I'm sure, Sheena Chick Foley,
Yep.
pretty much helped put me out there into the world. I met a few people at the show. We connected through Instagram, and then fast forward another year, Ryan Schroth, the author, contacted me through Instagram, and he had an idea. His idea was an alphabet book, but he wanted to pitch it to Ring of Honor, because Ring of Honor had just done a coloring book. So what we did was we did an illustration of the Young Bucks as kids, more like babyish, not necessarily in the same style that I did this book. And we pitched it to them, and it got shot down. And that's all good. Like, he had everything. I was like, I'll do the artwork, you pitch it, you do that, and he did it. We got shut down, and obviously years later, a year or two later, they came out with their book with the same publisher as our book, Trism Books.
Yeah.
So that's cool. That's awesome. So then a year after that, Ryan and I, hey, what's up? He comments on my stuff. He came to me in August. Me and my buddies were down in Brooklyn, and he says, I got another idea. You want to do this? I've got about 30 wrestlers on board. We could pitch it to a few publishers. If they don't pick it up, we can always self-publish it. I thought of it over the weekend, and some of my closest friends, they were like, you got to do it. Like, why not? Give it a try. So we did it. We illustrated the book in about a year. He had it written. He did, as I always joke, he did the dirty work. He provided me reference photos. He did all the literature. And then I did the drawings. And actually, I brought it with me. It looks a little different. It's still got all my notes in it. This is the original copy of S's for Suplex that we did.
Okay.
And we were on the verge of self-publishing through Amazon. We had just received these through Amazon, and we got another offer from a publisher, our first real offer. And we're not going to say who they are. They basically just were ready to put out our book into the world and publish it and make a few bucks. And it didn't really sit right with Ryan and I. So we said, one more time, let's just pitch it to Trism Books and see what they say. And sure enough, they loved it. We went with them. We signed a deal with them, which was awesome. And they, along with us, we completely changed the book. The words are totally different. Some of the terms are different, and a lot of the art is different. And it's for the better. When I compare the two copies, I'm like, wow, I can't believe we were going to put that out, and it turned out to be this. So,
sure.
So that's the long version of the story. So.
That's all right. Yeah.
That's all right.
Did you get to interact with any of the wrestlers, or was it all like just reference shots or like stuff off the top of your head?
So Ryan has a lot of connections. He's done work with Sami Callihan before and Brian Cage. So he had the connections with the wrestlers. I've interacted with them here and there on Instagram, but I've never met them. And when we first started illustrating, there were a few. I've said to him that I didn't know who they were. I am tried and true a WWE mark my whole life.
Same,
and I'm not gonna lie. And I was honest with that with Ryan, and that's why he was providing me reference shots. And but now, obviously now I know who everybody is. They've been so appreciative, and the response from them alone, as we sent them rough sketches, has just been amazing.
Yep. Yeah, it's got Colt Cabana, MJF, the Young Bucks, like you mentioned, Rock and Roll Express. There's some old school guys in there. John Morrison. Just going through here real quick. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I'm WWE for life. So there's a couple guys I don't recognize in here. So I'm like,
right. No.
Frank the Clown is in here.
Yes. Frank the Clown was my get. I will take credit for that. We joked. we had that page all lined up. Z is for Zebra, and I forget who was even supposed to be there. Someone was supposed to be there, but we had to remove them, or we moved them to a different page. And I had met Frank a few times in Brooklyn, and I said, I have the perfect person for this page, because the idea, to have Hornswoggle and someone laughing at the ref. And as soon as I asked him about it, he was like, I am totally in 100%. So yeah, like Ricky Morton is just, those guys are super cool. They followed me right away on Instagram, which was like the coolest feeling in the world. When any of the talent in the book has given me a follow back, I pop, how could you not? Like, it's just so cool that they let me illustrate them, and it's wild. One of the funniest stories, so the first picture that we pitched, and it's actually still the same illustration, it was Brian Cage, Colt Cabana, and Brian Cage's wife is the ring announcer. So the first time I drew it, one of the pictures that Ryan sent me was an older picture of Colt Cabana when he had like the big mutton chops.
Yeah.
And so he gets the picture and he goes, I love it, but I haven't had mutton chops in like 10 years. So can you give me stubble instead? And I was like, gee. So, it's just fun to have that kind of interaction with some of the guys and girls.
Sure. To be able to talk to them. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. What about him? Have you had any interaction with MJF?
Oh man, he's like the dude that I wish that's another page that we had that idea from the get-go, kind of go with like one of those like old Western themes of like the damsel in distress being like tied up. When we first sent out like the rough photos, the closest thing I got was like a retweet, and but I haven't had any interaction with him. Hopefully one day.
He is very much, from what I've seen. Like I've told this story on our pod before, where like I got to go to one of his last indie shows last year, and I didn't really know, like, again, being a WWE mark, I don't know a lot of the independent guys. I had heard the name, but I had no idea like totally what the character was. And he's like yelling at people at his gimmick table and stuff, and I'm like, what is happening over here? But yeah, his page came out great.
Thank you.
And Ortiz
sorry, go ahead, DJ. Sorry.
Yeah, my other one is the Eye with Ortiz and
yes,
yeah, because I love that tag team.
They are so good, and those are actually two guys that as soon as we put that out there, Alicia posted the photo first and tagged them, and they like fired it off instantly on Twitter, and they just thought it was the coolest thing. So to hear that reaction from them,
right. I bet.
And we timed it well, because it was like right with where like the Inner Circle was coming out and started. Man. So it was like perfect storm.
So are you still just a WWE mark, or are you like now that you've kind of worked with these guys, are you like, maybe I should turn on AEW? Or
AEW goes on. I go back and forth when I can, but still, man, there's just something. I'm a glutton for punishment sometimes, especially, NXT is just, to me, they can do no wrong in a way. It's a perfect recipe what they have down there for the most part. And I'm a Shawn Michaels mark, so if he's running an operation, I think they're in good hands. But I do, ever since the book has come out, I have to turn on AEW. I have to see what's going on over there.
Sure.
Yep. I'm the same way, man. I'm like, I love the WWE. I defend, up until this week, I was pretty much like defending everything that they did. I was like, yeah, but AEW would do this.
Yeah. And
then Retribution debuted, and now I'm like, shit. But
me and my buddy just kept saying like this the whole time. They're like, they're gonna screw it up. They're gonna screw it up. How are they gonna screw it up?
Yep.
How are they gonna screw up?
And then we got a bunch of Banes, right?
Right. Oh man. And then I said like to him, I was like, it kind of feels like the whole Dark Order thing. Like if they debuted with a leader, maybe it would be a little better. But then when I heard him talk, I'm like, wait, we know who all these people are.
Yep. That's exactly what I said earlier in this episode. That's exactly what I said, was like, they shouldn't be bitching about contracts. We know who they are. Or mentioning contracts. We know who they are. But
It should be wins and like we said, it should be wins and losses, not your contract.
For sure.
Because there are people that never won big. So okay, you guys pushed us.
Yeah,
that should be the storyline, not your contract.
You mentioned.
Go ahead.
You mentioned Shawn Michaels is your favorite of all time.
Yes.
But is he your favorite to draw? Like, if you go to the Extra Cooler Instagram page, obviously you're drawing everybody. I just ordered a couple prints from you. Got them. I love them. Even my wife was like, "Oh my God, those are amazing." I ordered the Macho Man that you just recently did, and the WrestleMania 6 Hogan and Warrior. I ordered that one because that is like my first wrestling memory. And I saw that and I was like, I got to have that in like my toy wrestling room deal. Like I got to have that.
Right.
So, but is there like, I mean, there's like, we talk about action figures and stuff a lot on this podcast too. Like we always use the term toyetic. Is there like a guy or a team or something like that that's so much fun to draw as an artist?
Yeah. I mean, Macho Man's just like, he's the coolest to draw, especially because there's like so many different versions of him. The bright colors are just amazing. If you were to scroll through my page, and you would see that like he's probably the most drawn, and he's probably the most drawn by a lot of artists that are doing wrestling stuff. But Shawn Michaels, obviously, just because got the soft spot for him. And like you said, anything like old school from that era when I first started watching as a kid, but my first real memory when I got hooked was WrestleMania 7. My best friend came in with it on a VHS tape that Monday. He'd ordered it on pay-per-view, taped it for me, and handed it to me in the hallway of 3rd grade. I can remember.
There we go.
Yeah, I actually just spoiled myself this past summer, and I found this vintage WrestleMania 7 shirt from a guy on Instagram, and I had my eyes out for it forever, and it just it was a no-brainer. I was
is
like,
that
all right,
authentic or is it a reprint? Authentic?
No, it's authentic.
Was it Wrestling for Sale?
No, it wasn't. The funny part is Ted is actually Ted's awesome. Ted's like one of the coolest guys. I've been lucky enough to do stuff for him. I've been lucky enough. He's connected me with a ton of people. He's connected me with Frank the Clown. He connected me with Brian Dipperstein, who I did a massive piece for. He was on the lookout for it for me, but we could never find the right size, and I stumbled upon it, and I had to.
That's my biggest fear with those. I always want to pull the trigger on a few of them, but I'm like, I don't. The sizes, like I'm like a large or a medium in 2020, but like in 1986, 1996, like what would I be?
Yeah.
So, that's right.
I still have a bunch of my shirts from like back in the day.
I wish I did.
And they are all like extra larges, and I'm like 5'9". Like I wear like a medium large these days, and like I'm like, what? I just like my Austin 316 shirt from 1996 is like it's the original, but the sleeves are like down past my elbows and just.
Oh man, there's a couple that I wish I had like the all over like Razor Ramon print, the yellow, like the iconic shirt. I'm like, man, I wish I still had that so much.
I had the glow in the dark Sting shirt.
Nice.
That was my.
This is actually my favorite story. I brought this shirt because I knew we were doing the video. This is my Mega Powers Explodes shirt.
The Mega Powers Explode.
You could almost see through it. It's so thin, but the best part about it is it was when I was in college, so it was probably about like 2001, 2002. Me and my buddies would come home from the summer, and we would hit up the Salvation Army just because we were broke, and we were like, let's get some T-shirts for the summer. And I was with my buddy who's a bigger guy, and he rounds the corner, and he just has this shirt on a hanger. All I see is a black shirt. He goes, "You son of a," he goes, "here you go. It's not going to fit me. $2 this shirt cost me."
Oh my God.
That's a no-brainer.
Every time he sees me wearing it, he's like, "Oh God, that kills me."
I hear stories like that all the time. Like people finding figures at Salvation Army or Goodwill. And my wife's like kind of into like refinishing furniture and stuff. So every time I'm like, "Can you look for me? Can you look?" Nothing ever. I'm like, man, some guys have all the luck, man.
Right? For real.
Some guys. So you might have answered this question. So I asked this of everyone. Your gateway wrestler. So the wrestler that just fought. So if it's not like, if it's HBK, it might be, but if somebody else, let us know.
Like as a kid, I grew up, my dad liked wrestling, and there's memories that I don't even really have. Like I have a box full of LJNs that are beat up that he bought for me because he was into wrestling. He took me to a local house show with my uncles and my grandfather. I was probably about 4 years old. I can remember, I can vaguely remember Iron Sheik and Junkyard Dog there. That's it.
Okay.
And then after that, he like spawned it back on me. He wasn't like this huge wrestling fan, but it was one Christmas he got me the Hasbro Brutus the Barber Beefcake and $1 Million Man. Like what a bizarre pairing. And,
yeah, really. Well, at least you got a baby face and a heel.
Yeah, exactly. So he knew that. And ever since that, I was hooked. It was like probably around WrestleMania 6. I was collecting the figures, but was like, catching superstars and a little bit here and there. I was still young, so I wasn't watching the pay-per-views super late at night. So I would always say that like that Brutus Barber Beefcake and $1 Million Man figure were like that gateway. And then right after that, shortly after that was when I got my, the Rockers tandem. And
nice.
Right.
I've been a Sean guy ever since then. Like even through those heel days with Intercontinental, it's just, I don't know. He's just the best.
Throwing Marty Jannetty through the glass. You were
okay
with that?
I am totally okay with that. It was long overdue.
Well, look what he's done to Marty in the long run.
Exactly. Turns out he was right.
That Brutus Beefcake $1 Million Man pairing wasn't too. That's not too odd. That my first Hasbros were the same two, and Jimmy Snuka. My aunt made me like a birthday cake, the shape of a ring, and put those three on it for me for my 8th or 9th. I don't know.
Awesome.
I don't remember how old I was, but that was one of my birthday cakes. I just remember vaguely getting those as my birthday present on the cake. So not too crazy. Not too crazy. Do you still collect like the WWF or WWE action figures or?
So it's kind of funny. My son is. We just had my second son. He's 3 months old, but my other one's 2.5. And he, for his first birthday, one of my best friends got him the Shawn Michaels retro.
Nice.
That was his first wrestling figure. And then shortly after, I got him the Seth Rollins retro because Rollins is like my modern day guy.
Yep.
And then, so this is going to tie into another story. He recently started incorporating the Razor Ramon Hasbro that I have into that.
Nice.
So we have a shelf in his room where there's all these little knickknacks that have something to do with a family member through his lineage. And the Razor Ramon ties into my grandfather, who I was watching a Saturday Night Main Event, I believe, or something. And he was over and he saw me watching it and he saw Razor Ramon on TV. And he had like one of the most clear laughs. You knew who it was when he would laugh. And he was in the kitchen, I'm in the living room, and he's cracking up. He could not stop laughing at how funny he thought the gimmick was. The Chico, the hey yo, and
it was pretty funny.
As an adult watching like a kid in elementary school enjoy this. So we ended up taking him to a house show, and Razor Ramon was his guy. And for Christmas one year, I bought him a Razor Ramon Hasbro. And when he passed away at 99 and a half, we were cleaning out the house.
Oh my gosh.
And he still had the Hasbro in the package.
That's awesome.
So that's where the Razor Ramon in my son's room comes from. And now Razor, as he calls him, Razor Remote, is now incorporated into his federation.
That's awesome. Right. That's awesome. Razor Ramon Hasbro actually brought us together to do the podcast. I bought one off of DJ in the package, but then I was like, I don't need this in the package, and they were going for so much. Like they're big bucks on eBay right now. So I just sold it last week. I'm like, we got the podcast going. So I was like, I'm gonna make some money off this, and I'll buy it loose down the road. I'm a loose collector, so I'll buy it loose down the road complete. So but that's funny. That is funny. Is there anything else that you are into drawing besides wrestlers? I see Dave Matthews Band poster behind you. Are you like into drawing rock and roll stars? Anything, movies, Marvel?
I haven't. That's actually like, that is my style of music, especially from years ago. That concert poster is from first concert me and my wife went to together in 2006.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that's there. But really, like, that pop culture stuff is what I'm big into these days. I love drawing Ninja Turtles and Ghostbusters, and, you know, all the stuff that we grew up with.
Yep,
exactly.
It's awesome. I love just going back to the Dave Matthews poster. I'm a big Pearl Jam fan.
Nice.
And I have a bunch of like the Ames Brothers prints that they do
for
their shows. They're amazing.
So good.
I mean, that's like
some of the best.
Yeah, and that's like that can be a whole nother collection in itself. People go nuts for that stuff.
My best friend has so many concert posters. It's insane. I'm very envious.
Yeah, it's like the big thing now. I'm just like, I have no room for any of them, but I have to buy them when I'm there.
Right. Yeah. And then I have to pray I don't crush it and destroy it.
Yeah, because it's like if you try to like, they played Fenway. I'm in Connecticut. I'm right up the road from you, but like I'm like an hour and a half from Boston, and I grew up in Massachusetts. So the Red Sox are my team, and they've played Fenway like a handful of times now. So I'm like, every time they play there, I'm like, I got to get a poster. Or even the Garden, you know, Boston Garden, I'm like, I got to get a poster. They were supposed to play MSG this year, and I was supposed to go to my first show. Like, I've never been to a wrestling show, never been to a concert at MSG, and it was supposed to happen in March. And it was my favorite band, and then Corona. I'm like, come on. Come on.
Yeah, that messed up all the concerts.
Everything. Yeah. But I'm supposed to see Rage there, too, but that's obviously not happened.
I think while you guys were doing that, I think I was at the Dr. Dre concert, and there's not many posters at the Dr. Dre concert.
Different kind of paper there.
Yeah. Oh man, why'd you have to remind me that Rage was going to do a show?
I know, man. They rescheduled for next year, so they're using like the same dates, but just 2021. We'll see. Okay. We'll see if that actually happens.
Still with Run the Jewels, or
yep.
Weren't they going on tour? Yeah.
Yeah. So
awesome.
So is there anything you want to get into drawing, or is it just like I'm pop culture, what I grew up on, or is it?
You know, it's really hard to get away from the pop culture stuff, especially working with the kids all day. Because like, even before I started the wrestling thing, like my whole go-to was drawing Ninja Turtles for the kids in school. Like that, they loved that for some reason. That was also when Turtles had come back on Nickelodeon. You know, just there's so many ideas going on in my head. If you were to look at my Instagram, you'd see like, no knock on other artists that are out there doing wrestling stuff, but they tend to focus on one style, and that's awesome. They crush it. I can't focus in on one style, and I don't know if I always blame it on, and not a bad thing, but because I'm an art teacher and I'm constantly, you know, teaching kids different styles. I feel like that's one of the reasons why, if you were to scroll through my Instagram, you'd see that everything varies from cartoons to, you know, a little bit more realistic, to pop culture, to pop art, like the Keith Haring stuff I was kind of knocking off and toying with for a while.
I have one complaint about your Instagram.
What's that?
There's not enough Ric Flair on it.
Yeah, I know. You know, I got bummed because I did a lot of Flair like earlier on. Yeah. And I pitched, it was right when he opened up a store on Pro Wrestling Tees, and I pitched it to them, and they were kind of like, this is cool, but, you know, stuff with pink in it doesn't really sell. And I was like, what? Like that Ric Flair pink robe is.
Right.
Exactly. You know? No, that's not true.
And
that's not true at all.
Right? I'm going to have to do another one, because my good buddy Matt, he always tells me that this one piece, and I'll repost it on my Instagram, one Ric Flair piece, jet flying shirt that I did a while back is one of his favorites.
Nice. That's my guy. So Sting, like DJ's guy is Sting. He gets enough love. Like with the, I get it. Ric Flair, he's like one color trunks, one color robe. I get it.
No, the robe is good though. The robe is too good. The robe is a fun thing to draw. If you think about it though, I've done a lot of knockoff Ric Flairs, like the Pickle Ric Flair design that I did with Lapel. Yeah, that was all their idea. I just kind of ran with it.
Right.
Oh, that actually just came up. I'm scrolling through your Instagram now. That just came up. Yep. So
I do like I'm looking. I like the Rachel Ellering one. That one's that's a pretty cool logo.
The Rachel Ellering ended up being a T-shirt on Pro Wrestling Tees, right? For you?
Yes. Yeah, she is, Rachel Ellering, is probably the nicest person. Her and Chris Hero are two of the nicest people I've ever met through this. I haven't met Rachel in person. We always joke that it's going to happen because she always tells me that I'm on her team. I like to think I'm her go-to guy. I've done a few shirts for her. And she's just like the nicest person. And then I met Chris Hero at a Wrestling for Sale pop-up, and and I introduced myself, and he was like, "Oh shit!" And he, you did all Rachel's stuff. He's like, "Give me a hug," and big hug. He's a big dude. And actually, funny story about Rachel is that we had like a spot in the book open, and I was like, "Hey, we got to get you in here." And she's like, she couldn't tell me anything, but she signed her papers for us. I illustrated her and everything. And the next day she signed with NXT. So we had to pull her because of that. And, she had a stint in NXT, and now she's out, and she's been back out there, and I'm so happy for her.
Definitely. Yeah. I actually was going to ask you about that. John Morrison is obviously in the book. Did you guys have any issues with him being in it because of when he signed, or was it like, was there any problems with that?
No, because we were very fortunate that he, along with other people, had signed their release form before they had gone back to WWE or NXT. So all was good. In the original copy of the book, actually in the index, we had his name as John Hennigan, aka John Morrison, aka Johnny Impact, aka Johnny Mundo, aka Johnny Survivor. So we just, and so like that's actually one of the funnier stories from the book. He really busted Ryan's chops through this process. The page he was on was originally with ACH, and we pulled ACH when he signed with NXT. But his whole thing was every time we sent him an illustration, he wanted a muscle added on top of a muscle and a new set of abs. And then finally, eventually, he was just like, "Ryan, I'm just messing with you." And in the long run,
ribbed.
Yeah, he got ribbed. And we're very appreciative of him because he was one of the people that told Brian that, you guys really should push to get it published, because he believed in the book, and he was like, it's great. And I think you guys have a chance to have something. So, John Morrison's got a special place in my heart.
Nice. Yeah. I've always been a fan of his.
Same.
DJ, before we kind of head to the finish line here, you got anything else to ask, or?
I think these are some great stories. It kind of went through some of the questions that I had, which is fine.
I got two left. You killed a couple of mine because you kind of just, with your storytelling.
Yeah, which is good.
That's fine. That's fine. It's all good. It's all good. Very conversational. That's what we want.
He's not a dead guess. We don't have to pull a whole lot out of him.
So I have two questions left. One is like a random fun question that I'm trying to end all our interviews with here. And then the other one is what's next? What's like next on your docket as far as projects go? Another book? Do you have what do you want to do? What do you see yourself doing? Obviously you're a teacher, you got your career, but what do you yourself doing as like a side project like this?
I'm always open I love hearing people's ideas. It's honestly, it's one of the best parts about doing this is someone pitching me an idea similar to like how you guys did, and being able to take off with it and create something. If this book does well, we're hoping to do another one, maybe with Trism Books. Dream situation. My best friend, he writes. We want to do a children's book together. So that's dream scenario. That's the same friend in third grade that handed me off WrestleMania 7 tape.
Nice.
So we're hoping something down the road. But for right now, we're just really trying to make sure this book gets into as many people's hands as possible.
Nice. And we'll get to we'll let you spill you got to where to find the book, everything like that. But first, this has been a theme. We've had a couple interviews here. You're our second one, but my gimmick is trying to end this with a random fun question, just to kind of nothing to do with the book or anything like that, or art, or anything like that. And these are brought to you guys, you listeners, by Poddex. I talk about them all the time. If you're in the podcasting game, make sure you hit up poddex.com and use the code RUNIN10. You get 10% off. This question comes from one of their decks. It is their interview deck. What is your guilty pleasure? What is your guilty pleasure that you're willing to admit to on this podcast? What is your guilty pleasure?
Oh man. So like it's funny when I first started, this is a bad answer, but I'll tell you this one first. When I first kind of let the cat out of the bag at school, at work, that I was doing this type of artwork, I would always say my guilty pleasure is wrestling.
Yep. You know? I'm the same way, dude. Like when I work in finance, my day job, and I'm always like, I try not to like keep it under the hush hush that I'm a wrestling fan, but I have like a Ric Flair thing on my desk, so people will laugh. That's my guilty pleasure.
Yeah. Right. My guilty pleasure. Oh man, my guilty pleasure is probably MTV's The Challenge. My wife and I are addicted somehow.
Nice.
We both watched it when it was like first on TV, and then one year, probably before we were married, we were sitting around. It was like a New Year's Day, and they were running a marathon, and we were, hungover.
Oh, and, that's it. Yep.
And that just ran, and it was right before a new season started. Somehow we've been hooked back in.
I love it. Me and my wife she had me on Real Housewives in New Jersey for a little while.
A little while. I almost said that because when she jokes because I'll be like drawing on my iPad, but like secretly paying attention to the Housewives.
It's that trash TV, man. Teen Mom too. I was into Teen Mom for a little bit, and then I'm like, these kids are like so young, and they're exposing them. Yeah, I really feel dirty watching this.
Yeah.
But it would
just like Catfish. Catfish was
yeah.
Yeah, it would just be on.
TV shows.
You get sucked in, man. You get sucked in. All right, Nick, let us know where we can get the book, where our listeners can get the book, where they can find you, all that good stuff. If they want to order prints, all that good stuff.
Yes. So you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Extra Cooler. I have my website, which I just reopened, extracoolerart.com. You can get a copy of the book signed there with some stickers. I'm selling copies. You can also get the book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, pretty much anywhere you buy books, which is awesome, which is such a dream come true. And if you have any needs for commission, wrestling or not wrestling related, you can message me on Instagram, Twitter, at extracooler, or shoot me an email, extracoolerart@gmail.com.
Awesome, Nick. We really appreciate the time. Thank you so much. Yes. Like I said, man, can't praise the book enough. It's great. Can't praise our logo enough. Nick made our logo. I don't know if I mentioned that. I think I did, but and like I said, man, I ordered prints and they came out amazing. They're great. Hit them up, guys. Everything you need. So thank you so much,
guys.
Nick.
Thank you, man.
Thanks, guys.